Salute wrestling friends and welcome to the Figure 4 TV. Hit that like button. Now today I'm going to answer a question that was given to me by a longtime supporter and friend of mine over on Facebook. And he asked me, do you think NXT have expanded from a developmental wrestling brand to its own after the TNA deal? He wanted to hear my thoughts. So you guys check out the intro, and when we come back, we talk about this thing. Great question. Now, we talked about the Forbidden Door for years, and that's something that Vince McMahon was against the Forbidden Door. Vince didn't see working with people. He just seen destroying people, destroying the company. He didn't want to work with nobody. Remember, Vince got out of working with people when he left the territories and destroyed the territory system. So Triple H, he's smart. And Triple H know you can gain way more from working with something or a company than just destroying it. So Triple H, his whole leadership regime is not designed and built on destroying any company. To be honest with you, Triple H will work, and he would Forbidden Door with AEW if they weren't so disrespectful and if they weren't so hell-bent on one-upping him. But Triple H is all about adding. He's all about adding on to a foundation that's already there, that's already been built for him. So now we have Triple H enacting the Forbidden Door with TNA, and he's been doing this for a while. Guys, think about it. TNA Stars has been in our Royal Rumble. TNA Stars has been on our shows for a while now. I want to say since 2022. You guys let me know. I could be wrong on the actual date, but for a while now. But Triple H never went yelling it and screaming it to the heavens. Oh, Forbidden Door. That's what Tony Khan did. Tony Khan wanted to be the first to bring the Forbidden Door. But it ain't forbidden if you marketing it, if you going around telling people about it. However, the news broke and it went public 3 weeks ago. So for those of you that may not know what I'm talking about just yet, yes, it's official. Triple H has got a deal and a partnership deal. Mind you, he's not trying to buy them, and I don't think he should buy them. The partnership deal is great, and I'll tell you why. Check this out.
Released earlier today. I'm going to read it as follows. Title: WWE TNA Wrestling announced multi-year partnership. January 16, 2025, WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings, and TNA Wrestling, one of the world's top wrestling brands and a subsidy of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, today announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities between WWE and TNA programming for NXT superstars and TNA wrestling stars. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, which airs live on the CW, and TNA Impact, select WWE premium live events, and TNA pay-per-views, in turn bolstering their in-ring development with exposure to world-class talent and coaching.
All right, and to answer the second part of your question, you heard that right there? That's why WWE don't need to buy TNA, because if they buy TNA, then they're responsible for TNA. You get that? So WWE needs to leave NXT as its developmental brand and just work with TNA. If WWE buys TNA, then yes, I agree that NXT should become its own brand and TNA then should be our developmental brand. But again, Triple H is not in the business of destroying somebody else's company. Triple H is not playing the game like how Vince played the game. And even Vince used this strategy when it came to ECW. ECW was the third best wrestling company to date. It was WWE, WCW, and then ECW. Vince McMahon was smart enough, even though he hated the Forbidden Door, he used ECW, right? He didn't buy it, but he funded it, and Paul Heyman know it. He used ECW to box out WCW. ECW, remember, started a We Hate WCW campaign. ECW under Paul Heyman was taking shots and stabs at WCW, and Vince sat back and played like he had nothing to do with it, and he benefited because along with those shots and his Monday Night Wars, that helped him jump Eric Bischoff. Pay attention, guys. This is history.
Goes on to read a quote from one of the executives at TNA. This historic relationship demonstrates that collaboration and competition do not have to be mutually exclusive, said Ariel Scherner, sorry if I mispronounced that, Senior Vice President in Content and Distribution of TNA Wrestling and Anthem Sports and Entertainment. Our partnership allows the TNA brand and its incredible athletes to reach a significantly wider audience while giving WWE and NXT stars an opportunity to cross the line, and gain valuable experience as they join forces with one of the most talented rosters in professional wrestling today. Their response to our collaboration over the past year has been tremendous, and both companies have benefited, but the fans have reaped the greatest reward from this talent crossover and working relationship.
You see, both companies got a benefit. If you buy that company out, then only one company gonna end up benefiting. Then you know what I mean? It's addition by subtraction, and that's not gonna work. And the fans, at the end of the day, we the fans, you saw what happened when WCW went down, went under, when Vince bought WCW. Wrestling landscape on a whole sucked. It was no competition. TNA was in the water. They was off TV. He went and bought ECW. It was no competition. So I think this is going to be great. Let's take Tony Khan's ROH, Ring of Honor's company, and use this as an example, right? Guys, now let's go back. It was reported by Dave Meltzer, and yes, I don't mess with Meltzer when it comes to WWE news, but when Dave Meltzer reports something on AEW, he shields for AEW, yo. He's on the AEW payroll. Him and Tony Khan best friends. So when he reports something on AEW, believe it, it's true. And he reported that Tony Khan tried to buy TNA 2 times, back in 2018 and again in 2022. In 2018, they made the attempt, but they wanted the catalog. And if I'm not mistaken, TNA did not want to give their catalog, their video library up, so the deal folded. They tried it again in 2022. And you guys remember, because they had Eric Rowan, they had Matt Cardona featuring over there. They had a couple of TNA stars over there. Also, remember, Kenny Omega won the TNA championship and did not even put a TNA star over. So TNA, they was already shaky with the deal, doing the partnership with AEW and letting AEW buy them out, because they already seen where AEW was going with it. The only people that was benefiting from that Forbidden Door, the AEW TNA Forbidden Door, was AEW, guys. Kenny Omega won the TNA championship. He lost it to Christian, who was in AEW at the time. So they never did put somebody over. Christian had to put, I think, Greg Alexander over. TNA's Greg Alexander won the title back, but Kenny Omega couldn't even drop the title. If any one of those up and coming TNA stars would have beat Kenny Omega, that would have skyrocketed that TNA star. But AEW didn't know how to partner. They didn't know how to be partners. And I say that to say, this is why it's better to be partners than try to buy the joint. Because look what he did with ROH. ROH ain't been the same. Tony Khan now bought ROH. Instead of just partnering with him, he bought ROH. And ROH then went down to the shits. ROH is trash. We see ROH titles on Dynamite more than we see in ROH. We don't even see ROH.
Goes on to actually read a quote from Shawn Michaels. We look forward to growing and evolving our partnership with TNA Wrestling and its outstanding group of athletes by creating new opportunities to further the development of our talent and to elevate the viewer experience at home, said WWE SVP of Talent Development Creative, Shawn Michaels. For TNA Knockout World Champion Jordan Grace and Joe Henry, former TNA Walkouts World Champion Jordan Grace and Joe Henry frequently appeared on NXT programming in 2024, highlighted by an NXT Championship match featuring Henry and Ethan Page at No Mercy, and an NXT Women's Championship match featuring Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez at Battleground.
Trust me when I tell you, I know exactly where you thinking and where you going when you ask me that question right there. And I always thought I wanted to see NXT be its own brand, and it is though. When you think about it, NXT is its own brand. You don't want to make it too much like the main roster, because then NXT will lose its essence. You got to remember, NXT is not meant to be the main roster. It's kind of like how they do here on YouTube. You know, YouTube ain't meant to be all fancy and all of that. Don't get me wrong, you got to have your audio correct, and you should have a good, clear visual. But all that fanciness with the lights and the moving stuff in the backgrounds and all that stuff don't mean the information is dope. All that stuff don't mean the company is fire. You know what I mean? It just means they got money. They got a bigger budget. But independent is independent. And NXT is WWE's independent wrestling company. That's where our independent stars go. That's where, you know what I mean? It's like back in the days when we had the 205 Live and all of that. And when NXT was on the network, it's meant to be public. I mean, it's meant to be underground. So we don't want to make it too much mainstream, because then it'll lose its underground feel. And that's what NXT is. So I used to think like that too. Like, oh, it should be its own. Let NXT partner with the other small companies that is dusting any other way. Because for NXT to be just a fundamental, we can get rid of the fundamental. Maybe let's stop calling it the fundamental brand. Because for it to be the fundamental brand, it's kicking the shit out of all of the rest of these wrestling companies. These mainstream wrestling companies. So let's get rid of that narrative of it being the fundamental. And let's just leave it as NXT. And we should let NXT partner up with as many companies as we can, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to use them other companies to make NXT greater, to run storylines on NXT. Like right now, we have no opponent for Obafemi, but we got a partnership. At any given day, we can have Moose come on over. We can have Joe Hendry come back on over. And now Oba will have an opponent. You see how that works? And we ain't got to deal with him. We could have him lose or win and get rid of him. We don't own him. When you partner up, it's no ownership. So it's just partnering. So I think that is going to be the best thing we could do right there. Think about it. All TNA ever was missing was production. Their production value sucked. When you turn TNA on, you just 5 minutes, you ready to turn it off, because the production quality and the volume and the audio and the visual sucks. So they storylines is lit. TNA storylines and character, the way they build characters, they lit. Remember, they ain't got pressure that they ain't got the pressure that the mainstream wrestling companies is under, where the fans want to book the show, so they got to make decisions on the fly. You know, TNA got time to where they can sit back and let their stars develop, and we seen that. Tessa Blanchard, not Dana Brooke. There's Grace, Deonna Purrazzo, Moose. You know what I mean? And many names. Look, they just signed Mustafa Ali. They going in the right direction. They got commitment from Mustafa Ali. It's like TNA smart. They lose somebody because they can't afford to pay, and then they replace who they lose. Boom. And that's how they've been running it. But all they need is WWE production, and WWE is constantly evolving. What's new is old to WWE. So WWE just give them all their old stuff. WWE is on Netflix now. So the production value on Netflix is 5K. We could afford to give TNA our 4K cameras. We can afford to give TNA all of the stuff that we don't need. We could write it off. We could tax write it off to TNA. And that's what we've been doing. You know, TNA got that deal that we don't have anymore in Canada. They got that TV deal. Right now, TNA got a TV deal in Canada. And that's the biggest TV company in Canada. So they got it, not AEW. You see how WWE is blessing them? Everything that WWE gave up to go to Netflix, TNA will get the opportunity to have first. All right, y'all. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all let me know if y'all want to see NXT become its own brand, or y'all want NXT to stay together and be a partnership and just work with TNA to get rid of AEW, because that's what they're doing. That's what Triple H is doing right now. And then once somebody works with TNA gonna be like, oh, you can't work with AEW. So it ain't even gotta be WWE doing AEW greasy. When you partner up, your partner is gonna look out for you. It's gonna look out. So your partner gonna put pressure on TV company, TV networks, and all of that. It's a chess game that Triple H is playing, y'all. But I'll see y'all. Let's take it to the comment section, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, follow me on Facebook, Mr. Goodbread Scott. I'll see y'all later.
Speaking of NXT, I did want to ask, because we're seeing this collaboration with TNA, and so I wanted to ask first and foremost, why WWE decided to pursue a longer, I guess you can say, relationship here with TNA from what we've been seeing, and also what we can expect from that, what the end game is, what the fans can expect from that.
So I think, as we've said before, we're open for business, right? Whether that's what you see in NXT with TNA, or whether that's the different international opportunities. We're going to look at what's best for WWE, but how does that benefit us? How does it benefit them? How does it benefit us? You know, I think there's opportunities as you look at NXT. A lot of those kids are young, and what they really need is repetitions. They need opportunities to go do. We can only create so many of them. So when we have opportunities to partner with others, help their business at the same time, you know, get them on a platform that is seen by so many more people. Use the strength and the power of our brand across social media to help them. I think you'll see more of that, right? So when we have the opportunity to help them, while at the same point in time getting the future of not just us, the future of this business, more opportunities and more reps to improve what they do as performers, to improve what they do on every aspect of what they go out day in and day out and do. You know, the world is different now. There aren't territories where you're out there working a couple hundred days a year, and I don't know that anybody would want to, but we all did it. But it's how everybody got where they got to, and how they got good, and how they learned this. So we have to create that, and we have to give those opportunities to other people to grow and to have that. Because the only way they're going to learn how to do this, the only way you learn to go out there and feel that crowd and understand it and change what you're doing and have that dynamic, is you plan it all you want in the back. When you get out there, and that's where the magic happens. I don't care what anybody says. And those decisions, those in the moment game day decisions that are made there, live, your nuances, that's what makes this great. So it's reps. It's really reps, especially when you're just starting in the business. So I want them to have that. So when we can create those opportunities to be whoever that's with, I'm excited to do it.
Thank you.
This is a wreck. He's moving like an uncaged animal.
No lie, he's wild in there.